Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the Thurston County Board of County Commissioners meeting for this Tuesday, February 7th, 2023. It is 2:02 p.m. My name is Ty Menser, Vice Chair of the Board. Commissioner and our Chair, Commissioner Mejia, will be here just in a few moments. To my left is Commissioner Gary Edwards. We have the County Manager, Mira Chavez, Assistant County Manager, Robin Campbell, and Clerk of the Board, Jamie Caldwell. Meeting's called to order. We're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and it looks like I'm leading that, so would you please rise? Join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We would also like to start today's meeting with the land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge and thank the Indigenous Salish peoples whose elders and ancestors have lived on and cared for the land and waterways of this county since time immemorial, specifically the Nisqually, Squaxin Island, and Chehalis people, our sovereign tribal partners. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. The purpose of this acknowledgement is to disrupt ongoing erasure of injustices done and to remember history as a stepping stone towards healing. Next is approval of the proposed agenda for today's meeting. Is there a motion?
Yes, I would move to approve the meeting for February 7th, 2023.
I will second that. So there's been a motion and a second to approve the proposed agenda. Any discussion?
No, sir.
Call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia is excused.
Motion passes and the agenda is approved. Next, I have the pleasure to introduce a proclamation. This is African American History Month, and we have a guest, and we're going to go straight to County Manager.
If I may, thank you, Commissioner. And it is really my true pleasure to introduce Mr. Thelma Jackson. If she can come to the podium, please, and provide some perspective. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners Menser and Edwards, can you hear me? Great. Thank you for this important proclamation that you are about to present. We were here last month for a similar event in honor and commemoration of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. We deeply appreciate your having us back again in honor of Black History Month. I am a member of the New Life Baptist Church, the largest predominantly Black church of any denomination in Southwest Washington. Our pastor is Reverend David L. Reeves, who you met last month. However, we are merely representatives of the greater Black community who now reside throughout Thurston County. Black history is part of our lives 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 365 days a year. We do pause in this month of February to focus on our history in this nation and throughout the world. Black history is American history and world history, but is not included as such. We look forward to the day when that will no longer be the case. 404 years ago in 1619, 20+ kidnapped Africans were brought to these shores that became known as America. The arrival of these enslaved human beings marked the beginning of what became known as the slave trade, and for more than 250 years, millions of human beings of African descent were enslaved and were regarded as 3/5 of a person by the U.S. Constitution. Our ancestors were stripped of their personhood, name, families, language, religion, culture, position, and wealth. The Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 freed enslaved people only in the states that had seceded from the Union with absolutely no resources of any kind. Others were not given their freedom with that proclamation by President Lincoln, who had to be urged on by Frederick Douglass, a leading black voice of that era. We pause at this particular time to put into perspective the gruesome journey of our forefathers and foremothers who survived the atrocities of the Middle Passage, the brutal treatment, the discrimination, the loss of lives, the inhumane treatment for centuries and continues today in many places, as we declared that Black Lives Matter. We get great encouragement to take stock of where we are as a people today. We are the manifestation of our ancestors' wildest dreams. Our contributions to the making of America is still not fully recognized. This country is an economic powerhouse around the world due to decades and centuries of free labor of our ancestors, and there has been no reparations for us. As part of our commemoration of Black History Month, we have erected a Black museum in the Morris Fellowship Hall of our church for most of the month of February and are making it available for public viewing on Saturday, February 18th from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock p.m., followed by a panel discussion on the impact of Jim Crow ideology on our quest for equity and inclusion. We invite you and others in the community to join us for this community event. More information will be forthcoming. Thank you for taking this time during your agenda to acknowledge this very important month in our lives. May God bless you.
Thank you. Dr. Jackson, before you sit down, can you, the event you mentioned was on the 18th from 1 to 3, and where will that?
Saturday, February 18th at the New Life Baptist Church from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock, and more information will be forthcoming to you.
Thank you.
But it turned out to be such a tremendous undertaking and product that we wanted to share it with the greater community and not just our congregation.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Edwards, anything?
You know, I would just like to mention that Thurston County has a unique history when it comes to addressing this issue, if you will, because Oregon wouldn't allow folks of color to own property. And that was all the way back into the 1840s and 50s. And so we had folks come up here and become an immediate part of our community and our society, very first ones. So, and there's a bit of history out at Bush Prairie that goes along with that. But I think we've continued that trend, I believe, here, and we can always do better. But I do think that we at least started out on the right foot. Now, whether or not we continue to get it right all the time, probably nobody does. But I just think it's kind of cool, if you will, that from the very beginning of our community here in Thurston County, we involved everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Commissioner Edwards. You're absolutely right. That was our beginning, the George Bush family back in the 1800s. And then something went sideways for a number of years. And for a long time, we couldn't identify very many blacks in the Thurston County area after the Bush family. And we begun to reconstruct, trying to reconstruct, you know, from those early 1900s up to where we are today. And there were many more black people playing significant roles in this Thurston County community that's gone unknown, unwritten, unacknowledged, and untalked about. So there is a lot of work to do. We have come a long way. We continue to look at the large numbers of parcels of land that still contain racially restrictive covenants that didn't allow black people to live in certain parts of this county. And those are the kinds of things we must acknowledge, deal with in order to move on. But you're absolutely right. We're not where we used to be, but we aren't where we need to be. So thank you for that. And this proclamation means a lot to us.
I have to point out, one of the people in Oregon that Commissioner Edwards is referring to who would not allow property ownership was Samuel Royal Thurston, who this county is named after.
Correct.
And that may be something that needs to be addressed. History is really important. Specifically, this is Black History Month, and I know history is really important in terms of confronting the past and facing the future and making changes that are going to be meaningful. So I'm very distressed when I see leaders in other states that take a different view about what you said. I think is really important. Black history is American history, and that's just a fact, and we need to move in that direction, not away from that. And if we continue to go in that direction, we will go backwards, not forwards on this issue. So I think it's really important that Thurston County proclaims African American History Month as a priority, and I'm ready to read the proclamation. Vice Chair does it, so I'm gonna do it. Thurston County Proclamation, African American History Month. Whereas during African American History Month, the many achievements and contributions made by African Americans to our cultural, spiritual, political, and economic development are celebrated. And whereas in 1976, Black History Month was formally adopted to honor and affirm the importance of African Americans in our country's history, advance the cause of civil rights, and strengthen families, communities, and the nation. And whereas in 1915, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, a noted scholar and son of former slaves, founded the Association for the Study of African American Life and History, or ASALH, and initiated Negro History Week in 1926. And whereas the first kidnapped Africans were brought to this county 400 years ago, beginning legalized slavery that lasted for 250 years until the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863. Whereas in 1845, George Bush, Washington State's first Black pioneer, established the first non-Indigenous American settlement at Bush Prairie in what is now Tumwater, Washington. And whereas George Bush and his partner, Michael T. Simmons, built the area's first gristmill and sawmill, and Bush helped finance Simmons' logging company. And whereas in 1889, William Owen Bush, son of George Bush, became the first African American to serve in the Washington legislature. He served 2 terms and introduced the bill establishing the institution that is now Washington State University. And whereas through determination and perseverance against all odds, African Americans have made valuable and lasting contributions to our country and to our county, achieving exceptional success in all aspects of society, including business, education, politics, science, the military, sports, and the arts. And whereas ASALH's 2023 theme, Black Resistance, acknowledges the ongoing efforts made by African Americans to resist historic and ongoing oppression in all forms. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Board of County Commissioners hereby proclaims February 2023 as African American History Month in Thurston County and encourages all citizens to recognize the continued need to battle racism and build a more just, peaceful, and prosperous society for all. Adopted the 7th day of February 2023 by the Board of County Commissioners.
Are we gonna do a photo?
Okay, that will conclude our presentations for today. Next is an opportunity for the public to address the board. The Board of Thurston County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that most meetings are televised. The general speaking guidelines are as follows. Please introduce yourself, including the address you reside in the county. Please address the board, not the audience or staff. Please silence your cell phones for those members in the boardroom. Speakers are limited to a total of 4 minutes to address the board. Meeting attendees cannot donate their speaking time to another person. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature. Please be respectful. No outburst of any kind. No comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. All materials provided to the county may be considered public records, subject to public release upon request pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256 of the RCW. No remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could eventually come before the board and appeal. Thank you so much for your cooperation. Now, I will start with members who have signed up on our sign-up sheet, and then I will move on to members who didn't get a chance to sign up but would like to provide public testimony, and then we will move on to Zoom. I only have one person today, and that's Becky Liebman.
Thank you, Commissioners Menzer, Edwards. My name is Becky Liebman. I've lived in Thurston County for 5 decades. I'm here today representing the South Sound chapter of Fair Vote, Washington. And I'm here to follow up on a meeting we had with you all in August, where we came to talk about ranked choice voting. And we enjoyed that conversation because you asked really good questions. And we were very glad that Mary Hall could be there to talk about the issue from the point of view of an auditor. In her own words, she said she had no problem with ranked choice voting. And she invited you to talk to her more about it because she said it's fun to talk about. And we agree. But why should you be interested? Well, because it's here. Ranked choice voting is either currently being used or about to be used by 16 million people in the country. This includes jurisdictions in blue California and purple Maine and ruby red Utah. It's a nonpartisan reform with bipartisan support. Last November, Seattleites chose to use ranked choice voting in citywide elections. Currently, in Washington state, only charter jurisdictions can even consider if they want to use it or not. There's a growing coalition of citizens and groups around the state that hope to amend state law next year, 2024, with a local options bill that would allow jurisdictions to at least have the conversation. So we'll come back to you about that later in the year to see if you might offer a resolution in support of letting local jurisdictions decide for themselves. But meanwhile, we just wanted to let you know that for this legislative session, we're consolidating our resources around ranked choice voting for the presidential primaries. And why is this important to know about? Well, because in 2020, Washington state led the nation for wasted votes in the primary. In our state, 25% of the voters voted for a candidate who had dropped out after they had put their ballots in the mail and before the election ended. That's almost 400,000 votes. We need ranked choice voting because if a voter's first choice has to drop out, then the voter has a backup choice, so their vote still counts. As taxpayers who foot the bill for the primary election, we don't want to see that situation happen again, where 25% of the votes are wasted. That's why we're supporting HB 1592 in the Washington State Legislature to bring ranked choice voting to the presidential primaries in March 24th here. It would apply to only one election, the primary election, and it would allow voters to pick a party, as we already do, and rank up to 5 choices. They could rank 1, they could rank 5, it's up to the voter themselves. And it's currently used in 5 different states around the country. We will continue to bring you news about ranked choice voting because, like Mary Hall says, it's fun to talk about. and it's an improvement over our current system, and we can do better. So in the meantime, we're grateful for your curiosity and your good hearts and your open minds on this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Go ahead.
1592. 1592.
Okay, anyone else in the boardroom? No? Okay. And then I'm not seeing anyone on Zoom either?
No, nobody in Zoom, Madam Chair.
Okay,
What's going on?
everyone's gearing up for 5:30 this afternoon. We do have a public hearing at 5:30 PM in regards to the wireless code update. So that should be where we get some public testimony. Okay, so then that will conclude the opportunity for the public to address the board. Next is county manager's update.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I'd like to follow up to a public testimony you received last week from Mr. John Pittet. And also he was making a reference of a letter that he submitted to you dated January 30, 2023. I'm just going to read the second paragraph of this letter, and I believe that is what his testimony last week was, and will be responding accordingly. In the second paragraph of this letter, he states, attaches this letter a copy of the account from Thurston County Real Estate Excise Tax 1, which shows the detailed budget appropriation for Week 1 in the amount of $7 million, and the total expenditure amount of $8,687,435. The excess of $1,687,435 is not, by law, a liability of the county, but the officials making or incurring such expenditures or issuing such warrants shall be liability thereof, personally and upon his or her official bond. The last statement is absolutely correct. The initial statement is not. And Robin Cabell will walk you through the details, specifically the appropriation for the atrium, and that is the gist of this letter. It was not $7 million, it's $10 million, and that is the budget appropriation that the board approved, and that's how we have been operating and paying the expenditures related to this building. Robin?
Thank you, Romero. Robin Campbell, Assistant County Manager. And this morning I provided to commissioners documents that I'm about to reference, and there are copies here in the boardroom for anyone who should want to look at them. The documents that I provided, I'm just going to try to very quickly walk through them. There is a printout of our Questica, our budget system, that shows the amount for two actions that the board took. The initial budget for the REIT fund, which is the fund we use to pay for the tenant improvements for this building, and then the budget amendment for this building, the cost of this building, and those two amounts add up to $10 million. This page also shows the total amount appropriated for REIT, and by appropriation, under state law, an appropriation is authority to spend that's granted by the legislative body of the county, and that is, of course, the Board of County Commissioners. The second document is from our Munis system. Munis is our official financial record for the county. Again, it shows the amount for the REIT fund, and it shows the total budget of a little over $12 million, which aligns with the amount in the Questica system, broken down by the original budget and the budget amendment. The next two documents are budget change requests, one for the original budget and one for the budget amendment. These change requests show in detail that this request was specifically for tenant improvements in this building. and the amounts align with the other documents that I've provided. And then finally, the last two documents are the legal appropriation documents where the Board of County Commissioners adopted the budget, Resolution 16103 for the original budget, and when, if folks should look at the backup documents, about the fourth page of the document shows the amount appropriated for real estate excise tax that aligns with both Munis and Questica, and Resolution 16165, which is the budget amendment. And again, the detailed document shows the amount which is appropriated for this building, and those two amounts total $10 million. Another thing brought up today is the amount in the supplemental was termed a reappropriation. Reappropriation is simply a terminology that we use in budgeting, saying that we took an amount for a capital project that was not used in a prior year and moved it into the current year. It's still an appropriation. This document still shows that the board took a legal action to make that funding available specifically for this project. The term reappropriation comes from my work. The state uses that all the time. It's not unusual in budgeting, and it is still legal authority to spend. So altogether, these documents show that the board approved $10 million. We spent less than that on this building, not by much, but a little under. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions at this time, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer? No questions for me. Okay. With that, we're moving on to consent items. There's items A through F. And we did add a couple of items.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. This morning, you made a couple of decisions to change the agenda that you reviewed this morning. In the consent agenda is item 3A for you to consider the appointment of Mr. Kevin Mills to the Agri-Tourism Advisory Committee for a 2-year term, which the term will expire February 7, 2025. Item 3B also is for you to consider reappointment of Mr. John Burdon to the Agri-Tourism Advisory Committee, again for a 2-year term with the same expiration date of February 7th, 2025. And those are the only changes on the consent agenda.
Thank you. Okay, any questions, or would any of the commissioners like to move any items from the consent agenda?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. With that, I am ready for a motion.
Move to approve consent items 3A through 3F.
It's been moved and seconded. I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer? Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Consent agenda is approved. Moving on to department items. Items, first from the auditor's office. The next couple of items are, 4A is to set a public hearing to change precinct boundaries. And I am seeing Lynn Watanabe. Go ahead, Lynn.
We cannot hear you, Lynn. Your sound is not coming through.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, loud and clear. Go ahead.
All right. Thank you. Good afternoon, commissioners. For the record, my name is Lynn Watanabe, lead election technician for Thurston County. The elections team is in the process of performing precinct maintenance now. These changes are necessary adjustments to precincts with registered voters, reaching the maximum number of active voters, city annexations, and to approve precinct boundaries. I'm here today to ask the board to set a public hearing as required by state law for any feedback on these precinct changes for Tuesday, February 28th at 3:30 p.m. Following this meeting, information on our proposed changes will be on our website for the public to review. Visit our website at thurstonwavotes.gov or call us at 360-786-5408. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Edwards?
No, thanks for all the work down there with you and your folks.
Thank you. Commissioner Menzer? No questions for me, Lynn. I'm ready for a motion.
I move to set a public hearing for Tuesday, February 28, 2023 at 3:30 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard at 3000 Pacific Avenue Southeast, room 110, to accept public testimony regarding proposed precinct boundary changes.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer? Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Okay, thank you, Lynn. Next, the next three items are the approval of the voucher list. So we'll start with item 4B, approval of the voucher list for the week of January 16th.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will cover the next three items for your consideration. Item 4B is for the board to approve the voucher list for the week of January 16th, 2023 for a combined amount of $2,729,507.69. And there are some expenditures related to the atrium on this voucher list.
Okay, thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions at this time, thank you.
Commissioner Menzer? No. Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
Move to approve the voucher list for the week of January 16, 2023 for a combined amount of $2,729,507.69.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Nay.
Commissioner Menzer? Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Next is the approval of the voucher list for the week of January 23rd, 2023.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For your consideration is the voucher list for January 23, 2023, for the week of January 23rd, 2023, for a combined amount of $7,349,513.66. And this voucher list include expenditures related to the atrium.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions at this time, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer? No questions for me. I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve the voucher list for the week of January 23rd, 2023 for a combined amount of $7,349,513.66.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Nay.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Then item 4D, approval of the voucher list for the week of January 30th, 2023.
Similar to the previous items, Commissioner, for your considerations to approve the voucher list for the week of January 30th, 2023 for a combined amount of $2,162,718. And this voucher list also includes expenditures related to the atrium.
Any questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Not at this time, thank you.
Commissioner Menzer?
No.
Okay, I'm ready for a motion.
I move to approve the voucher list for the week of January 30, 2023 for a combined amount of $2,162,718.
I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I guess I'll just condense my discussion that there's been quite a bit of talk about this over quite a period of time, and we also discussed it this morning at our agenda setting, if anybody's curious. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Nay.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to information technology, item 5A, renewal of Microsoft support agreement for technical assistance. Sherry Ilg, Information Technology Interim Director, will present on this matter.
Thank you, Commissioners. Good afternoon. Sherry Ilg, Interim IT Director. I am seeking your authorization to continue our sole source Microsoft Unified Support Services contract in the amount of $87,689 for a one-year term. Thurston County IT has utilized Microsoft services to access expedited support from Microsoft for all of our core products when issues arise since 2014. We can also use the hours for proactive support and training, and we do use all of our hours every year. The amount has been budgeted and is in the IT rates for 2023. And I am available to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Questions, Commissioner Menzer? No questions from me. I'm ready for a motion, sir.
I move to waive competitive bidding requirements and approve the sole source professional services contract with Microsoft Unified Support Services for $87,689 for a one-year term for technical assistance with Microsoft systems and software, and authorize the Information Technology Interim Director to execute the contract and any amendments that do not exceed 10%.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I guess I'll ask a question. Probably already asked this during one of the work sessions, but I know this is a fee-for-service type of contract. So where does this kind of specific dollar amount come from? Is it based on X number of hours that we're maximizing authorization for that?
Yes, we get, I can send you the contract. We get a certain number of hours, plus we have a couple of engagements that are planned. And because we have planned engagements, we actually get a discount on the per hour cost. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Yes.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Public Health and Social Services. Item 6A is Tobacco, Vaping, and Cannabis Prevention Contract from Choice Regional Health Network. Chris Hawkins, our Program Manager, will report on this.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Chris Hawkins from Thurston County Public Health and Social Services, Education and Prevention Manager in the Community Wellness Division. And I'm here this afternoon to ask for your consideration and approval of a new contract from Choice Regional Health Network. This would allow us to continue our really vital work around tobacco, vaping, and cannabis prevention with a focus on youth in the community. The total value of the contract, funds coming to the county, would be $113,633.75 for this current program year, state fiscal year. And we are eager to continue this work because we have seen a lot of progress on this over the last several years. We're part of an overall regional effort, but this is really focused on services in Thurston County, in particular addressing things that are called for in the county comprehensive plan. As you may recall, in 2020, that was amended to add an effort around community-based approaches to addressing substance use prevention. And it also implements the county's strategic plan. So addressing youth and school-age people in our community with programs that help to reduce their substance use. It also works towards healthier and safer environments for all ages, because we're also working on this on secondhand smoke. And that does also contribute to reducing youth initiation when we have those strong policies that this board has approved over the years. And we continue to maintain the efforts around those policies in implementing them here in the community through this kind of project. So what the progress that we've seen is that whereas in previous healthy youth surveys, we saw over 20% of young people vaping at the high school age. That has, in the latest survey, come down to 1 in 10. So that's just one indicator of the kind of progress that we're seeing. We're seeing similar levels of reduction in tobacco use at the adult level. And so those are some really good indicators that we have that this is successful. We need to maintain that, though, and hopefully continue to build on the successes that we've seen. So we're asking you for consideration of this contract, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Can I pass this matter on to you since I'm recusing? I don't know.
Sure.
I can.
Any questions for Chris from the board?
No questions, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Chris. Appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
I don't have any questions. Is there a motion regarding item 6B, or sorry, 6A?
Yes. I would move to approve the contract, and that's number Charles Boy Ocean 27574, Tom, Charles, Paul, Henry, Sam, 2023. Did I get all those numbers right?
Got it, you got it.
I really like the way you recite that.
Well, I do need my glasses, I guess. This caught me off guard. Okay. From Choice Regional Health Network, in order to provide tobacco, vaping, and cannabis prevention services for a total value of $113,633.75. And duration, July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023. And authorize the Public Health and Social Services Department Director to sign this contract, and as well as any future amendments that do not change the approved dollar amount by more than 10%.
Second that motion. So we have a motion and a second to approve this contract from Choice Regional Health Network. Any discussion?
I guess I just take this opportunity to let the public know that this is money coming in, not money going out. So this is a grant coming for us to work with young people.
Okay. With that, I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia is recused.
Okay, that motion passes 2-0.
Thank you, Commissioner Menzer. Item 6B, approval of amendment number 11 to the Washington State Department of Health 2022 through 2024 consolidated contract number CLH 31030. David Bain, our Public Health and Social Services Director, will present on this matter.
Yes, good afternoon, Commissioners. This will be hopefully a very straightforward request from you to approve Amendment 11 to our consolidated contract with the Department of Health, State of Washington. We're looking for an increase of $77,638. This is a contract that you all regularly approve. You approved the base contract back in January last year, and there's been 10 amendments since then. This is the 11th, and we will expect future amendments to come from DOH as well moving forward. Happy to answer any questions.
Questions? Commissioner Edwards?
No, I might just comment, though, that the Department of Health is doing very good work in the fields as designated. And because of that, we do get some extra money that comes through. And that accounts for the 11 different amendments and maybe some future amendments.
Thank you. Commissioner Menzer?
No questions.
No questions for me. I am ready for a motion.
I move to approve amendment number 11 to the State of Washington Department of Health Consolidated Contract number CLH 31030, which increases funding by $77,638 for a revised maximum consideration of $12,409,633 for the duration of January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024, and authorize the director or interim director, hopefully that will never come to pass, of Public Health and Social Services to sign the amendment.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
No, ma'am.
I'll call for the vote.
Commissioner Edwards?
Aye.
Commissioner Menzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Mejia?
Aye. Motion passes. That will conclude our department items. Moving on to our standing items, item 7A, commissioners will report on board work sessions and assign committee meetings, providing updates on actions taken as well as upcoming issues. Commissioner Edwards, we'll start with you.
Well, I'll report on my brand new meeting first. And that was JASCOM that I recently got assigned to. And it went well, I might add. And so I don't know if I'm reporting something that you folks, because you've both served on that committee, maybe you know that the building is in quite disrepair. And so the sewer line going out to the main line is continuing to malfunction, it's a corroded steel pipe. It catches everything that goes down through it, hence it plugs up. And so they're spending a lot of money rotor-rootering that, if you will, is the best explanation I could give that the public might understand. And that is gonna have to be dug up. Well, the building has that same plumbing all through the building. It's a 70s era building, so it's been there quite a while, and that material is deteriorating. So hopefully, they're gonna be able to put in a main line to the street to solve the one line deficiency. But they're also going to have to fix the whole internal portion of that is in the concrete floor. And so they're talking about moving forward with building a new structure, I think is what it's gonna amount to. And hopefully this fix will be able to be utilized when they do the other fix. That's my concern. So I think they'll be able to hook together and if they build in that location. So just kind of an update for my seatmates more than anybody else, because it's all brand new to me and I didn't even hardly understand it. So any questions on that particular topic?
Do they have, I can't remember, do they own the land and building?
Yes, they own 5 acres there. Some of it is encumbered by wetlands. And so that limits what they can do with that property. So, yes, and they actually, I asked about leasing something, maybe while they do something else and maybe have an income from lease if they build a property enough that would handle that. And they're exploring all the above, and in fact, they do lease a small section of that property to a coffee shop. And that does bring in some revenue. The Lodging Tax Advisory Committee held its first meeting for this year to discuss awards that will be going out to about a dozen groups in our community. And that's not yet been determined, but the information is out there. Attended the Maytown Community Playground ribbon cutting. That playground, I was informed by the members that put that together that playground had been in the works for almost 2 years. So it predates the site that was selected by the Department of Social and Health Services or Department of Corrections. I don't know who's taking credit for that, for citing a sex offender residence. And I'm not gonna get into that. We've had plenty of coverage on that particular topic. But anyway, the law does say that you can't have those two in close proximity. And it doesn't say which one has to come first or second. It just says they can't be there together. So that is yet to be figured out, I suppose, maybe by the courts if certain parties insist on going forward. I attended a lunch for Ready Nation, and that is to work with folks around kids, and it's all about investing in kids. So you've heard me say kids are 30% of our population, but 100% of our future, and that's a good group to recognize that because we're trying to get these kids ready for work. And Michael Cade from the EDC chaired that particular meeting. It was a good meeting of mainly educators, but other concerned people in the community. I think I attended with the WASC legislative reception with my seatmates and covered a lot of ground there. Thurston Regional Planning Council. Lots of things moving, but nothing of particular note right now. And a lot of on-site visits and personal meetings with all parties concerned around the Supreme Living Facility and some lake management district issues. So I was busy last week.
How many feet or how close is the the
It's-
park to the.
It is next to it's the adjoining property, right up tight against the property.
Near the lake.
It's actually part of the lake property. So it's in a section that's right up against the fence to the sex offender property. So, sounds like more to come on that topic.
Interesting.
Commissioner Menzer?
Okay, so I wasn't able to be at the Maytown ribbon cutting because I was a featured speaker at the Elks State Finals for the Hoop Shoot contest, which
Did
was.
you wear your shirt?
I didn't wear my shirt, but I brought my shirt, which is about this big, that I wore in 1978 when I was the regional representative, and went to Burbank, California, and made a fool of myself on a very bad day. But they got a kick out of that. I heard a lot of people laughing about that one. So that was a lot of fun, and see the kids, of all ages, just doing something that I did 45 years ago was just really cool to see. The WASAC, that's the State Association of Counties Board of Directors meeting happened. I informed my seatmates, we have got an issue with King County and how we can address the kind of disparity between King County, their issues that they want to promote versus some of the other counties, versus the way the dues are calculated, versus the voting structure. There's a lot of going to be debates about how to move forward with WASAC so we can all stay united, which I think we all want to do somehow, some way. Covered Intercity Transit Authority for Commissioner Mejia, and that was great. I got to sign off on a $35 million contract and for their brand new, they got their new building, but now they're moving to the final phase of their big project, which is to demolish the old building and to create some new buildings that they're on this, what's called the south parcel, which is the parcel closest to us, or the part of the parcel closest to us. So we'll see, I'm sure, some construction and different things going on, but the first part of their project was extremely successful, and glad to see them get that going. Governor Inslee still has not signed my appointment to the Sentencing Guidelines Commission, but I've been attending meetings as a non-voting ex officio member as a representative of the State Association of Counties, and that's been happening every Friday as we go through legislative bills related to the criminal justice and sentencing reform. Very interesting. I serve with fellow Thurston County colleagues, Judge Amamillo and prosecuting attorney John Thunheim. Met the State Conservation Commission director, who's new to this area and is doing a series of outreach meetings to build relationships. Came here from Florida, and it was an interesting conversation about issues of mutual concern. I brought him up to speed on all the stuff we're doing in Thurston County on agriculture, preservation, and some of our, other open space type programs. Legacy forest, that's probably my issue, like lakes for the Commissioner Edwards. I continue to have meetings with interested community members who want to strategize about how we can go about impacting DNR policies regarding our most oldest pieces of capital state forest. So I am continuing to engage in that strategy and have some things to bring to my seatmates next time I get a chance. That's it.
The meeting with the Thurston, not the State Conservation District, one cool thing I found out was that he was same stomping grounds as Rebecca Harvey.
Oh, really?
Yeah, our climate program manager, so I thought that was pretty cool. It was like small world indeed. For me, okay, I'm trying to figure out my handwriting, I apologize. I attended the Emergency Food and Shelter Program Board, and we met to give out grants. There were a lot of qualified, but there was only $130,000 to give. So there was a lot of hard decisions to make, especially when it comes to funding. A lot of great programs, really. I attended the Maytown Community Playground ribbon cutting, and I found out that the person who plans, it's actually her business, and she does this all around the state. And we talked later about she didn't know that Thurston County had parks, and she was just like really, she's worked with the city of Olympia on several projects, and she was very surprised about this, and she wanted to work with us in some of our parks. And so I told her to reach out and see if there's something that we can do with our parks. I was very excited to hear that. I attended the Regional Housing Council Executive Meeting. We have a meeting coming up. The Legislative Steering Committee meeting, that was a half-day meeting. We went through several legislative bills. I testified with Robin Campbell. We went up to the Hill and testified for House Bill 1022. Representative Orcutt laid out his concerns with this bill. I think it's nothing new to all of us. He's laid out the same concerns in the past. And then I did a meeting with Office of Public Defense and our county manager and Leah Landon to talk about the Fair Share Program, Supreme Living, and kind of our concerns, and we laid them out. So that was a really good meeting. And then just a lot of internal meetings, as well as some external ones with some constituent concerns. Okay, so the county manager will review the Board of County Commissioners schedule for the week of February 7th, 2023.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be walking you through the appointments that you have where at least 2 commissioners will be present. You may have individual appointments on your individual calendars. Those will not be part of my report. Today, February the 7th at 5:30 in the afternoon, you have a public hearing related to docket item 819, and that is related to the wireless code update. Wednesday, February 8th, 9 in the morning, you have a briefing in this room. At noon, you have your standing elected officials meeting. Thursday, February 9th, 9 in the morning, you have a budget review discussion, and this is just the beginning of the budget process for the upcoming biennial budget. 1:30 in the afternoon, February the 7th, you have a follow-up to the public testimony you might receive this afternoon related to docket item A19. Friday, February the 10th at noon, you have a Zoom meeting to attend the Washington State Association of Counties, WASAC, legislative update. At 1 in the afternoon, you have invited to attend the JRT meeting. Saturday, February 11th, you have been invited to participate on the Interfaith Gala at 5 in the afternoon, and that is going to be located in Lutheran Church of the Good Shepherd. Moving on to Monday, February 13th at noon, you have the Kiwanis meeting as well as the Washington State Association of Counties. And at 4 in the afternoon, you have a Zoom meeting related to the housing in Washington, housing-related issues in Washington. Tuesday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. 9 in the morning, you have your agenda setting here in this room. 2 in the afternoon, the Board of County Commissioners. And at 4:30, February 14th, you have your regular Board of Health meeting. And that concludes my report.
Commissioner Menser will be excused for that meeting. He'll be attending, representing us at the lot.
NACWA conference. We're actually accepting an award for the reclaimed water study that LOT did.
Oh, okay.
And then there's training seminars as well that I'm going to be in that conference for Monday through Thursday.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, so with that, it is 3:01 p.m. We will be coming back at 5:30 for our public hearing for the wireless code update, item A19 on the 2022 through 2023 Development Code docket, if you're interested in joining us for that. But until then, we are adjourned.